To vigorously enforce yesterday's Supreme Court ruling, I will eliminate all diversity, equity, and inclusion programs across the entire federal government. If you've worked hard, gotten fantastic marks, done well on all of the other various things that you have to do well on, somebody that hasn't done nearly as well, who perhaps has not worked as hard, will not be taking your place on a school, college, or university roster any longer.
Hey there, guys. Welcome to the channel. So, guys, I'm not sure how many of you guys actually watched the CNN town hall with Vivic Ramaswamy, but every single one of you should watch it in its entirety because it is an absolute masterclass. It is very, very, very good. And you don't have to be a fan or even a supporter of Vivek to really enjoy it. It's that good. Now, obviously, CNN, this is not a friendly place for a guy like Vivek to go on. This is the network of Van Jones, who basically said that Vivek is the second coming of the Third Reich. And whatever he means by this, we're going to have to deal with the guy for the next 50 years. So they're basically saying he is the Indian face of white supremacy. This is the thing this kind of stuff they want their people to believe, their viewers to believe. Just the most ridiculous things. But to Vivek's credit, he goes on CNN and he does a great job. You know, there were some really, really good questions from the crowd. And there were some questions that I would probably guess were plants. They almost have to be plants in the crowd. But he did a great job with all of them. And the one I want to show you right here has to do with everybody's favorite topic in the year 2023, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And he's asked basically, how as president would he promote, protect, and move forward, I guess, underrepresented groups in the public and private sector? Now, you and me, we know that the correct answer always was, is now, and always will be that no matter what, just hire the most qualified individual, regardless of anything else. But you can't say that in the year 2023, and you definitely can't say it if you're running for president. I think what he did say, though, is almost as good.
Ask a question. She's a professor at Drake University who teaches in the College of Business and Education. She's a Republican from West Des Moines who is undecided. Claire?
Thank you, Abby. Thank you also for spending time with our students at Drake. As a professor, I think it's super important that we get that opportunity, so thank you for spending time with them. As president, what specific strategies would you implement to promote diversity and inclusion in leadership roles within both public and private sectors? How do you plan to support the advancement of underrepresented groups, including women, in these areas?
So I'll be very honest with you. I'm going to share with you Thomas Sowell quote that stuck with me. If you care about somebody, you tell them the truth, or at least what you believe. If you care about yourself, you tell them what they want to hear. And I have a feeling I'm not going to tell you what you want to hear on this one. So I think the diversity, equity, inclusion agenda has been abused. In the name of diversity, we have, at many of our universities, totally sacrificed diversity of thought. In the name of equity, we've perpetuated a lot of inequity and inequality of opportunity through affirmative action and otherwise. In the name of inclusion, we've created a new culture of exclusion where certain points of view aren't welcome. So especially in a university setting, what do I care about? Diversity of viewpoint. This is important, actually. I think diversity of viewpoint is part of what this country was built on. Well, the best way to foster diversity of viewpoint is to screen candidates for the diversity of their views, actually. Many look at the board members of many universities. You're going to go through their partisan affiliation. It's not 80-20. It's going to be like 90-10 in the other direction. That's completely at odds with the representation of this country. So do I value diversity of viewpoint? Absolutely. Do I think we're doing a good job of that? No, we're not. And it's not an accident. In the name of diversity, we've actually created a new culture of conformity. And so I think it's entirely possible to have a group of 10 people who look similar to one another who have different views. I think it's entirely possible to have a group of 10 people who look different from one another, or who look the same as one another but have different views, or look different from one another and have the same views. And so I think the best way to screen candidates for the diversity of their experiences is to actually ask them about the diversity of their experiences. And I think the use of these racial and gender quota systems, I think have actually created a new form of racism in the United States that otherwise would not have existed. It's sad to me. I mean, I've hired, not because I was thinking about it consciously, plenty of black women in different positions of authority in this campaign or other companies or whatever. And I can tell you it saddens me when people look at somebody who I hired on the basis of merit and say that they only got that job because of their race or gender. That doesn't do anybody a favor. And so I think if we restore true meritocracy in this country and embrace true diversity of thought, chances are we're actually going to have a bunch of different shades of melanin and a range of genders in different positions. But let it be not the goal. Let it just be a byproduct of actually selecting for people who are the best person for the job, and especially in a university setting, diverse viewpoints as well. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, so you guys see that. How good was that answer? Now, obviously, it's not the most politically expedient, not the most politically correct for sure, but it's 100% spot on and completely true. You know, we really have focused on diversity of the most arbitrary things, man. Diversity of race and gender. And we don't even give a second thought to diversity of thought or diversity of experience or diversity of anything other than the superficial. You know, what kind of sense does that really make? I mean, you know, anytime I even go down this rabbit hole and think of DEI, it just boggles my mind how it's even possible. You know, it's the ultimate expression of liberals talking out both sides of their mouth. You know, I love the Thomas Sowell quote that he used, by the way, but every time I think of DEI or get down this rabbit hole on how it really works and what it really is, I know it's cliche, but I always hear the voice of Martin Luther King Jr. saying, you know, judge not on their color, but on the content of their character. DEI is the complete and total antithesis of that. And what a disrespect to a great legacy like that. And everyone who believes that he was right, and he was, you know. Anyway, great answer, great job. I think it made it an even greater job because I feel like that question almost had to be a plant, you know. He turned it right back around her. I'm sure that the lady's telling the truth. I'm sure she is a professor. I'm sure she is a Republican, even though that is an incredibly rare thing. And honestly, judging from her point of view on how people should be hired and fired, I think probably the only thing Republican about her is the letter that's stamped on her voter registration card. But, you know, he turned it right back around, especially when he talked basically about her own faculty and her own profession and how there really truly is almost no diversity of thought on any college campus in most of the Western world anymore. You know, he points out in a pretty hilarious way that because of her fancy DEI, she probably is the last Republican professor that college is ever going to hire. But anyway, I'm rambling a little bit. Overall, I thought it was a really, really great answer. I thought you guys deserved to see it. And, you know, we'll see how it goes. We'll see what happens. I think, you know, that's a question, honestly, that most candidates on either side would totally fumble. But that's all I got, guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you haven't already, please make sure to like, comment, subscribe. Help us to continue to grow. It really does mean a lot that you're supporting us. And we'll see you in the next one.